Let us talk about Linux. What is Linux? History of Linux, features supported under Linux, and the features of Linux itself. This is what we are going to cover today. So what is Linux? Linux is a generic term referring to Unix-like GUI, graphical user interface based computer operating system. So Linux is essentially an operating system. It is multi-user, multitasking, and multiprocessor. These three we are going to see in detail. This Linux coexists with other operating systems and it runs on multiple platforms, means hardware configurations. So what was there before Linux? In 80s, it was Microsoft DOS. It was dominating for personal computers. Then Apple Mac, it was better but somewhat expensive, but still Mac has various features that are still unmatched. Then Unix was much better but much more expensive. Only for mini computer, for computer application, this Unix was. So people actually were looking for Unix based system which is cheaper and can run on a PC. So this is how it started. This was GNU project, which was established in 1984 by Richard Stallman, and GNU is a recursive acronym of GNUs, not Unix. GNU, G for G, it is GNUs, N for not, U for Unix. So GNUs is not Unix. So what was the aim? The aim at developing a complete Unix-like operating system which is free for copying and modification. So Stallman and his team built the first free GNU-C compiler in 1991. But still an OS was yet to be developed, because OS, operating system, is in itself a bigger ask. Then beginning of Linux, how it took place, a famous professor, Andrew Tenenbaum, developed Minix, right? He developed Minix, which was a simplified version of Unix that could run on personal computers. So Minix is for class teaching only. There was no intention for its commercial use at that time. So in September 1991, Linus Torvalds, a second-year student of computer science at University of Helsinki, he developed the preliminary kernel of Linux, also known as Linux version. So see, a student, he gave a thrust to what we know today Linux is. Now Linux today, after all these happenings, Linux has been used for many computing platforms, for personal computer, for supercomputer, and commercial vendors moved in Linux itself to provide freely distributed code, and they make their money by compiling of various software and gathering them in a distributable format. For example, Red Hat, Slackware, etc. There are so many people, maybe when I'm reading out this number, it might have increased. So many of us are into Linux. So Linux is a free software. Free software, it is governed by FSF, Free Software Foundation, which is a matter of liberty, not price. So to qualify as free software by FSF standards, you must be able to run the program for any purpose you want to, rather than be restricted in what you can use it for, and share the program with others, improve the program and release those improvements so that others can be benefited by it. So there are various flavors, versions of Linux softwares. Red Hat Linux, one of the original Linux distribution. Then the commercial non-free version, which is Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which is aimed at big companies using Linux servers and desktop in a big way. Then Debian GNU or Linux, a free software distribution popular for use on servers. Then Gentoo Linux, this Gentoo is a specialty distribution meant for programmers. Then Ubuntu. Ubuntu is free Linux distros. Ubuntu is reliable and stable. Ubuntu is this distribution for biggest software repositories. Ubuntu has a good hardware support for most of the companies, and Ubuntu has various variants like Kubuntu, Xubuntu, Edubuntu, Gobuntu, MIDI Ubuntu. Okay, this Ubuntu is widely used. These are the percentage of use. It was long back, but still today also it's quite relevant. So this is how Linux desktop looks like. This is how when your Linux will start or you will install Linux, this is how everything will be. And you have a default Fedora desktop. This default desktop has three distinct areas. First is your menu panel, then the desktop area, and the window list panel. First, the menu panel, let us see about this. There are applications. The application menu contains a variety of icons that start software application, and it is similar to Microsoft Windows Start menu. Now the places menu contains a customizable list of directories, mounted volumes, recent document, and a search function. Volumes that are mounted may be external flash drives, hard drives, directories shared across a network, or other media devices such as a portable music player. Then comes the system menu. This has logout, about, help, lock screen, and preferences. Mozilla Firefox is a web browser. OpenOffice.org writer is a word processing program. OpenOffice.org Impress is for creating a presentation like PowerPoint in as given by Office, Microsoft Office. And then OpenOffice.org Calc is a spreadsheet tool, more nearer to Excel sheet of Windows, specifically the MS Office version. The Evolution, Mail Client, and Personal Information Manager. Then the desktop area, it has computer, home, and trash. This contains all volumes which are mounted on the computer, and if you plug in a pen drive, this will come as one of the mounted devices. So these are also listed in the places menu. So computer is equivalent to my computer as in Microsoft Windows. Home, there is where the logged user stores all the file by default, such as music, movies, documents, etc. So there is a different home directory for each user, and by default user cannot access each other's home directories. So home is equivalent to my documents in as in Microsoft Windows. Then a trash, like recycle bin. So deleted files are moved to trash, empty trash, by right clicking the icon and just click empty trash. So this is how the thing starts. You can start here. These are the various areas you can start from. This is your location from where you start. These are the program windows. Then these are the application windows. See, program, these are the linkage programs, and you go one step ahead, you will find all the applications. Then you have a preference. Then come to utility software like Office software. We have word processor, spreadsheet, presentation, and database application. This is an example of Office. Then this is the writer, OpenOffice.org. You can make documents. Then for browsing, for internet, you have a web browser called Firefox. This is Mozilla Firefox. And other softwares include audio player, CD player. This audio player is X multimedia system, which is used to play digital sound files. CD player, sound juicer, CD ripper, messaging client, then GFTP for FTP. So why Linux? Why actually we took this topic and why we are talking about Linux? Linux is very powerful. It runs on multiple various varied hardware platforms and user likes its speed and stability. That is why it is famous. That is why people are using it. So no requirement for latest hardware, and it's free. If you want to use it, you want to start, you are not going to go for a very high-end operating system, then this is for you, and it is licensed under GPL because this is free. This is the license of freeness. Then the vendors are distributors who package Linux. It is multi-user. What is multi-user? What is multi-processing? We'll see. Multi-user operating system is that operating system that allows for multiple users to use the same computer at the same time and or different times. While multiprocessing means an operating system capable of supporting and utilizing more than one computer processor, right? Various processor, various users. It is multitasking as well as multi-threading. Multitasking means an operating system that is capable of allowing multiple software processes to run at the same time, while in multi-threading, operating systems that allow different parts of a software program to run concurrently in the form of threads. Also, it is an open source software. People improve it, people adapt it, they fix bugs, and this can happen at a speed that compared to conventional software development seems astonishing, because everyone across the globe is contributing. Linux, the most important thing is it provides security, as there is a limited access, okay, of user to basic files and folder in Linux network. It provides security to users' privacy. So without disclosing the secure data, Linux act as a efficient server. Oh, that is the important line. Linux is virus free. Linux is virus free in that there are essentially no viruses for Linux in the world, although research viruses certainly do exist. There are some viruses, but still the way Windows system carries it, maybe not to that extent, and keeping up to date by upgrading or Linux upgrade faster than Windows. Compatibility is Linux is always backward compatible, unlike Windows. Then the advantages of Linux. Again, we have seen so many, but let us summarize them. The Linux systems are stable, they are free, no threat of viruses. Linux comes in various flavors, comes with the most of the required software pre-installed, update all your software with minimum fuss, no problem at all. Linux never gets slow, it's quite fast as compared to other operating system. Linux does not need defragmentation. Linux can even run on the software of moderate configuration software. Adding more software is a matter of few clicks only, and most Windows only apps have either their native versions or alternatives for Linux. So with Linux you can get the highest degree of possible customizability. Thank you so much. Hope you got an idea of Linux operating system. Take care of yourself.